No Hendry in Texas or Mexico. Not even an appearance in Greensboro. I get skeeved at Joe Hendry. I get skeeved at Joe Hendry. It's a joke. It's a joke. Didn't see him today. Didn't see Danhausen either. Somebody must have put a curse on him. Holy shit. Brock Lesnar back. Well, that was a quick retirement. We'll talk about it. We'll try to make sense of it. I think if you remember what we talked about a few weeks ago, I think that scenario still is in play. You got to understand, I think we all realize this, especially when it comes to Brock Lesnar. He's not going to tell WrestlingDickhead.com anything. He's not going to tell the dirt sheets. His agent is not going to speak a word. Paul Heyman is not going to speak a word. WWE management is not going to talk about it. TKO is not going to talk about it. So lips are sealed. So all we could do is opine. All we could do is try to make sense of this. I will tell you this, and I made sure to do some research quickly before we started this episode. For anyone out there that is going to even say or insinuate or clickbait that ticket sales are poor for Clash in Italy, this is a screenshot literally 15 minutes ago. Those are the tickets available for Clash in Italy. As you could see, just guessing from the dots, there's about 60 tickets left. This is going to be a sellout. This is 99% sold. And if anybody's going to say to me, well, Don Tony, maybe the on location is not doing well. Well, I promise you, Roman Reigns, Jacob Fatu, Brock Lesnar, Oba Femi are not going to be making pasta in Italy. So if you're going to get an on-location deal, especially with the pasta making, these matches do not affect it. Plus, again, when you look at this, there's no ringside tickets available. You know, you can purchase a ringside seat without the on-location deal. And it's pretty much sold out. So you ask yourself, why? Why Brock Lesnar in Italy in less than 2 weeks' notice? I think our scenario makes a whole lot of sense. Should we open up with it? I think we should open up with it, right? But first, a couple of formalities. A couple of you already know this. By the way, good evening, everyone. I am Don Tony, and welcome. It is May 18th, 2026. This is your latest episode of the Don Tony Show. We'll also get into Raw, little post-show there. I apologize if I'm a little off this evening. A lot of you already know a lot of the stuff that's going on. First and foremost, as I mentioned yesterday, my father-in-law passed away on Wednesday. Tomorrow is the funeral services, and Wednesday he gets buried. And Carlos, he is the one to the right of my wife. You know, very nice man. He's not that short. He's actually bending down so he could fit in the picture. He passed away, complications, stage 4 colon cancer that spread to his lungs. So not only that, my mother is currently in the hospital too. She is dealing with a very bad infection, and she's also dealing with what they believe, fingers crossed that it's this. It is post-operative cognitive disorder. She had valve heart surgery done a month ago, and ever since then, her brain has been in a fog. For the last 7 days, she didn't want to eat. Now they have found out that she has a couple of infections, but not only that, she has some memory issues. And believe it or not, anesthesia could actually affect your brain for months after a surgery, especially when you're almost 80 years old with health issues. And I'm not going to make this about politics in any way, but I had to share something that I think a lot of you would find pretty wild. My mother today saw a neurologist in the hospital, and they asked her like 100 questions to test her memory skills. They asked her what's her name, what's her birthday, what day of the week it is, this and that. And she got 99 out of 100 questions right. The only question she could not answer, and she told me she couldn't believe it. The neurologist told her, think about it, think about it, think about it. She didn't know who the president was, which is mind-boggling. So she was just, can't believe it. So hopefully she comes back home tomorrow or Wednesday. But, you know, yours truly, it's, you know, these shows are an escape. I very much thought about taking yesterday off, taking today off. But you know what? Laying in the bed and going nuts and worrying about my mother, thinking about my father-in-law who just passed away, you know, it's just going to drive me nuts. It's going to drive me nuts. It's going to make me want to go on the computer and do something. So why not talk about wrestling, right? Why not do this as a little escape? So that's why I'm here. And because I was so bored earlier or trying to get my mind off of it, for a very brief moment tonight, we will play not Maven Invaders, Nash Invaders. You knew that had to be coming. You knew that we had to have a little fun with Kevin Nash. You know, for those that tuned in last week, I figured out a way that I could play the 2002 video game that I created, which was Maven Invaders. You know, I just could not stand Maven when he first came into the WWE. So to make fun of him, I did a Space Invaders version of that. And I told you, we can make different variations of the game. All I got to do is change music, change logos, change this. And this afternoon, about 4 o'clock, I'm home, home early, thinking about it. I'm like, I got to do something to get off my mind. I get this shit off my mind. I got to do something. So it was either cleaning the house a little bit or making a video game. So I spent about a half an hour putting stuff together. And tonight, for a few moments later on, we will play Nash Invaders. And it came out fucking great. Even the music, sound effects, we got Diesel. We have the Wolfpack music. I know I'm spoiling a little bit, but we'll do that a little bit later. Obviously, there's bigger things to talk about here. I will say one last thing in closing with the Nash Invaders and Maven Invaders. If anybody out there really has a special request, or if I see like a common person, Tony Khan, that you want me to do a variation of it, I'll do anything. I'll do Trump Invaders, Khan Invaders. I'll do Corbin Invaders. You know, just for Baron Corbin. Could you believe that shit? The WWE, Fightful is now reporting it. Meltzer is reporting it. PW Insiders report. They're all reporting it. WWE is in talks to bring back Baron Corbin. Why? And listen, I look at the releases, and I don't sit there and like, wow, you couldn't do nothing with Santos Escobar, but you're going to bring back Baron Corbin. I don't know what it is. You know what it kind of makes me feel like? It makes me feel like two people who dated, and they just aren't a good couple, you know, and they just stick around, and everybody's like, you know, they're just not a good couple. Why are they together? And they're just together. Next thing you know, 12 years go by, and you're like, what the fuck? And then after 12 years, they finally split, and you're like, oh, thank God, man. Thank God. It just never was going to develop into something better. But they can't stay away from each other. If you want to use a baseball reference, almost like George Steinbrenner and Billy Martin from back in the day. Why would WWE do that? With all of the talent out there, Corbin? For what? Like I said yesterday, the only difference since Corbin has been released, other than proclaiming himself a fucking bishop, I mean, we got some weird terminology. I mean, maybe there's something that I'm missing here, but Corbin proclaimed himself as a bishop, and Zoey Stark is proclaiming herself the purist. The purist. What the? I mean, listen, I hope she nails it. I hope the purist? The purist? Like, what is that going to be? I don't know, man. Oh, we have a 3-minute video We have 3-minute video that she prepared to tell the world that she's returning in July. And when you watch this video later, I want you to think about the promo skills. I want you to think about it was Bully Ray, right? Tony Khan, give it a mic, stand in the middle of the ring, tell your story. You will sell it to the world. I want to see this 3-minute video. I want to hear this promo ability that WWE kept in a shell. I want to see her break out. Like she does this. We got a fucking Bishop, and now we got the Purist. To me, no, we're not going to go there. We're not going to go there. Is she going to do like a born again thing? What is she going to do? Like go in the ring and do this? I don't know. Listen, we'll get into her later. Let's talk about Brock Lesnar. For those that missed Raw tonight, a very good edition of Raw. I kind of didn't like the main event. It's funny how LA Knight ended up not coming out at all, but Oba Femi had his open challenge. Who is going to answer it this time around? Now, it is kind of funny because if you remember the Brock Lesnar open challenge, see, a lot of people didn't put 2 and 2 together tonight because you remember Oba Femi fucked Brock Lesnar's open challenge. Now Brock Lesnar fucked Oba Femi's open challenge. You didn't see anybody thinking about that tonight. But here's the thing, Oba Femi came out there, I'm thinking, oh, maybe Sheamus will make his return. You know, I don't want to see Tozawa. You know, who else is going to come out there? If you really look at the roster, who else is going to come out there? I mean, Maxine Dupree, like, there's nobody. So Oba comes out there, they do the silhouette, and here comes Brock Lesnar. Not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 F5s. Leaves Oba laying. Leaves him laying in the middle of the ring. And Brock Lesnar, you know, I would have loved for him to come out with no shoes. I would have loved to have him come out with no shoes, with Paul Heyman standing at ringside with the shoes. And then after he lays out Oba with 4 F5s, he puts the shoes back on. But that did not happen. And it might have even gotten a little bit more confusing because after that segment, you know, Adam Pearce is like, we did retirement papers, we did this, we did that. I want Paul Heyman in my office right now. And Adam Pearce walks into his office and lo and behold, Paul Heyman is already there. And Paul Heyman is asked by Adam Pearce, what the fuck? What was that? What's up? And Paul Heyman's like, Brock is retired. And Adam Pearce is like, am I missing something here? And Paul Heyman's got a contract in his hand. And Paul Heyman says, here, Brock Lesnar's signature is already on it. All you need to do is have Oba Femi sign the contract and you will have the greatest rematch in WWE history. So obviously Oba Femi is signing that contract. Obviously that match will happen in Italy. Now the big question is why? Now I saw right before we went live, who sent this? Got to give him his props. Who sent this? Got to give you your due. Chainsaw Charlie sends a super shout out and he says, I'm shocked Brock is back this soon. What do I think happened, DT? I mean, WWE even sold retirement merchandise and that shit is not cheap. Yeah, that's a very good point. I didn't even think about the retirement merchandise. Think of all the people that raced to buy Brock Lesnar retirement merchandise. That shit is, like he said, is not cheap. What is it, $50 with shipping and everything? Imagine all the people that bought those, ran to buy those shirts. So you're asking me 5 minutes after Raw goes off the air to try to make sense of this. I'm going to tell you what I think makes the most sense. If you have followed me, we have talked about Brock Lesnar in detail. If you remember the WrestleMania predictions, Joey 924 and I speculated that Brock Lesnar's career was coming to an end. It just felt that way. I mean, there was a couple of things that we said, even Asuka. We said, you know, what's the future for Asuka without Kairi Sane? And we did not think Kairi Sane was going to be released. We thought they were going to split as a tag team. And if they were going to split as a tag team, then you say to yourself, okay, what the hell is Asuka going to do? So, you know, of course, we're all surprised what's going on. You know what's something, I have to mention this, that we didn't say last week, and I didn't see anybody bring up either, something that might surprise you, but when you look it up, you'd be like, oh shit, yeah. Asuka last year was gone for a year, almost a year. Asuka was gone for quite a while before, like a little, a year prior, but she was gone for almost a year. When it was early to mid 2025 is when she started to return. So this is the second time in 3 years that Asuka is taking a big leave of absence. It's just now it's made a little bit more formal. But here's the only thing that I can make sense of Brock Lesnar, if anything that we have discussed before could be true. And listen, dirt sheets are not going to be able to confirm this. I don't want any of you to say, DT, you're right. I'm trying to make sense because I've learned from doing this since 1997, if you use common sense, if you use logic, you're right most of the time. I mean, if you look at my history, I'm not even saying it to brag, but there's people clamoring, always waiting to say, DT, you were fucking wrong. All right. When you use common sense, that usually trumps everything else. The problem is people out there play guessing games. They try to, it's almost like they play the stock market. The problem is they have no experience in the stock market, so they speculate and speculate and speculate. AAA makes the deal with WWE, and you had all the dirt sheets, including Meltzer a year ago, saying that WWE re-signed Alberto Patron because they just assumed because he was the number one guy in AAA. I mean, it wouldn't even be a question of it. And then everyone else that just used common sense, like yours truly and a bunch of others, Jason, everyone else said the same thing. Why would WWE bring back a derelict? Great wrestling ability, but a derelict. He's one step above, getting into, some terrible territory. All right, we're approaching the 20th anniversary of something, you know what I mean? So anyway, here's the thing. Brock Lesnar's retirement was very abrupt. And the one thing that I always said that confused the fuck out of me about his retirement in 2026 is when it comes to Saudi Arabia, not only does WWE bend over backwards for Saudi, but Brock Lesnar is kind of like a delicacy out there. Brock Lesnar will come out of the woodwork to work Saudi Arabia and then leave. And, you would think if there was any place like that someone would retire in Saudi Arabia, it would be Brock Lesnar, not AJ Styles. I mean, AJ Styles, because the anniversary of the Royal Rumble, we get it. But why would Brock Lesnar so abruptly, of course, no retirement tour. He doesn't want that pomp and circumstance. He's never had that real intimate connection with fans, but it just felt very out of nowhere. So when we heard about the 50% cuts, all right, there's no secret that Brock was a Vince McMahon guy. Once Vince was out of the WWE, the heart and soul of why Brock Lesnar did what he did in the WWE was gone as well. That's why when Vince retired, that 2022 legendary week, when Brock walked out, it was yours truly that went viral just by using common sense and said that Vince texted Brock and said, Brock, if you walk out of WWE, you walk out on everything that I have built. Please go back in there and just finish what you got to do. Do it for me. And within a couple of hours, the end of SmackDown, Brock returns. He's got the cowboy hat on. He tips his cap to the television hard camera for Vince McMahon. And everybody thinks, holy shit, where did he get these connections from? And I wrote sausage to give a sign to all of my visitors. That's common sense. You don't need to be a journalist to figure that shit out. When you heard the stupidity that we talked about yesterday with Tony Khan and Dave Meltzer saying that WWE, there's a buzz that WWE thinks that AEW's TV future is in doubt. No fucking shit. Anybody in wrestling would think that. AEW is a competitor. Why? Because he's got puppy eyes and he's a nice person. Leave the kid alone. Leave him alone. No, you go for the fucking jugular. Did you hear what Mark Shapiro said today about TKO and their future relationship with Paramount? My God, Tony, I don't know if you're into this, but grab the Desitin because Mark Shapiro is trying to shove the sausage up your ass and you don't even realize it. I could see where this is going now. People are going to paint AEW as the victim. The victim. They're just trying to do their own thing. They're not trying to spark fights anymore. But when you have somebody like Dave Meltzer, which is common sense, WWE personnel, are talking about they don't know. They think AEW's TV future could be in doubt. Anybody that works in wrestling would think that. Why would you think otherwise? If TNA lost their TV deal right now, it would be a discussion in every wrestling company. That's not news. That's common sense. So you look at Brock Lesnar's abrupt retirement, and then you find out right before WrestleMania and right after WrestleMania, TKO asked some people to take a 50% pay cut. People that they were not utilizing for the maximum, potential. And then Kevin Nash today. Did you see Kevin Nash trying to backtrack? Realizes Andrew Yang ain't saving his ass. Kevin Nash said something today that was fucking amazing. Kevin Nash is like, I know at least one person that got a 50% pay cut, and holy fucking shit, this guy was making so much money, he's still making a goddamn bit. No goddamn shit. How many people out there, even people who are mentally retarded, brain dead in a hospital, do podcasting? They're literally in a fucking hospital going, TKO, they're paying people millions and millions of dollars. So if I'm making $3 million and they ask me for a 50% pay cut, I'm still making $1.5 million. What do you think? They were making 100,000 and they're taking 50,000 away? You got fucking people getting paid $2, $3, $4, $5 million. And TKO says, listen, we're not using you like we thought. We really don't know if we're going to be able to use you like that. So we'll give you $3 million instead of $5 million. Oh, boo fucking who? Now Kevin Nash realizes that, well, they're still making a lot of money even with the cut. Because it's stupid. So what do I think happened? I think there's a very legit scenario that Brock Lesnar's WWE future was in doubt. I think that's why Asuka's retirement was never made the match against Io Sky at WrestleMania. I think that was on hold. It was a pause, because they weren't sure if Brock Lesnar was going to retire. I think when listen, we're opining. This is what I do. That's what I've been doing for 30 years. We're trying to make sense of it. We don't have the sources. No wrestling news site out there has that source with Brock Lesnar. So I think TKO went to Brock Lesnar like, look, we're not using you that much. So, we're giving you $5 million, $10 million, whatever it is, we got to cut it down. And I think Brock Lesnar's like, oh yeah, no problem. WrestleMania is my last match. And I think once they realized that Brock really was going to hang up the boots, Asuka, we can't give you the match against Io at WrestleMania. Remember, you had 7 matches on one night, 6 on the other. Asuka and Io Sky, remember Io Sky sent the tweet to Asuka, I challenge you at WrestleMania. And Io Sky deleted the tweet a couple of hours later. Why? Because I think that Asuka's retirement match, her last match against Io Sky, was pending on Brock Lesnar. Because you're not going to have Brock Lesnar retire at Mania and Asuka retire at Mania. It's either Brock or nobody, or Asuka or nobody. Wasn't going to be both. So I think what happened was they were going to give Brock a 50% pay cut. Brock was like, no problem. Took the boots off, and then TKO was like, yeah, maybe we could work something out. And I think that's what happened, because it just, again, we're just trying to make sense of it. Because why would you would think of Backlash. If the guy was going to return this quickly, Backlash, the Backlash of WrestleMania. Of course, that's very, very quick. But so is Clash in Italy. What the fuck happens in Italy now if Oba Femi beats Brock Lesnar again? If Brock Lesnar can't take the shoes off again, it's like Seth Rollins when he faked the injury. Now when Seth Rollins blows out the knee, the fans are going to say, pull up your pants. I want to see the bone sticking out. I want your skin on your leg to make it look like there's an erection in your knee. I got to see proof. I want to see the surgery. Nobody's going to believe Seth Rollins. They're going to think he's full of shit. Brock Lesnar can't take the shoes off again. So I think that Brock Lesnar is retired, but so is Rocky Balboa. Rocky Balboa was retired. That's not my Rocky Balboa impersonation. That's what I think happened. I think TKO started fucking with Brock. Brock's like, no problem. Take the shoes off. Did it. And TKO's like, fuck. That's what I think happened. Oh, I don't know if this is going to play out on Unreal. Does it make sense? Am I just in La La Land right now? I kind of think that scenario makes sense. Why would he come back this quickly? Italy's already sold out. You have Raw and SmackDown. You have so many matches you could put on that card. Clash in Italy is only going to be probably 6 matches. 7 if you're lucky, and I don't think it's going to be 7. You got Rhea Ripley. You got Liv Morgan. You got, so many. You have tag teams. You have so many matches that you could put together. And you now go to have Cody Gunther, Roman Jacob in Tribal Combat. We feared that. Tribal Combat. Now you got Brock Oba. That's fucking Saudi Arabia quality matches. That's WrestleMania quality matches. That shit could be SummerSlam. I'm not saying that you wait till SummerSlam, but why would you do that in Italy when the show's already close to selling out? There's only like 60, 70 tickets left. So I think Brock, they will keep playing that is retired. That doesn't mean he can't come back for a match. Shawn Michaels came back for a match. He just waited too long. Terry Funk came out of retirement 817 times in his career. If Brock wants to fuck with someone, are we going to complain? I mean, honestly, the only people that probably complain tonight is Oba Femi, Janelle Grant, and some snowflakes online. So that's who complained. I mean, Brock Lesnar versus Oba Femi will tear it up. So as a wrestling fan, I love it. I'm confused. I'm confused that he came back this quickly, but obviously Oba will sign the dotted line. The match will be made official. And then we got to see what happens. Look, I don't know if Brock is going to be in Saudi Arabia this year because Night of Champions, yesterday I kept saying Clash of Champions. Night of Champions, Brock is not a champion. Plus, if you think about it, this also eats up a couple of weeks because I still believe the end game is Oba Femi versus Penta for the Intercontinental Championship. Oba Femi will go into Saudi Arabia, Night of Champions, as the Intercontinental Champion. That's what I think is going to happen. And it'll be pretty fucking interesting to see Oba Femi versus Trick Williams in Saudi Arabia. But remember, next year is WrestleMania. We talked about it yesterday. I mean, you look at Saudi Arabia, and I know it was kind of a joke yesterday, but people are like, no, that actually does make sense. You look at how WWE just caters to Saudi Arabia. The greatest Royal Rumble ever, the best in the world, the biggest this, the biggest that. Everything has got to be big. They say everything is what was it, bigger in Las Vegas? No, Saudi Arabia. Everything's got to be exaggerated. The Crown Prince, if you give him a cigarette, it's got to have a gold-plated fucking tip on the end. Somebody's got to hold it for him. Not only do you say, hey, Prince, you want a light? You don't just whip out a fucking Bic or a Zippo. You got to whip out the fucking flamethrower. Woof! That's a fire. That's what you got. Everything's got to be overblown in Saudi Arabia because why do you think Riyadh season is? Everyone else, we have a holiday that's 1 day long. They got to do a holiday that's fucking 9 months long. They have to have over-the-top celebrations. They have to have insane... Think of all of the hunger that they could solve in the world if they just cut back on fucking spending money on gold-plated fucking urinals. You see? So what is my point? I think if WWE's getting close to this deal being over and they want to ink a new deal with Saudi Arabia, next year WrestleMania, not only is it WrestleMania, it's going to be the greatest Hall of Fame of all time. Vince McMahon, Brock Lesnar, John Cena, whoever else you want to add on to it. And it makes sense because Vince, Brock, and John Cena, they're buddies. They go out to dinner. They'll all be with the Crown Prince. John Cena would probably no cameras. But I think this is where it's leading. Brock Lesnar will be retired until he wants to pop up for a match here and there. We have had wrestlers over the years retire and then come back for a match. It's not out of the ordinary. So I like this because the surprise value will always be there. Brock could leave and not show up again for 6 months. And if he shows up again for 6 months, he's retired. Yeah, I'm coming back. So what? What are you going to do about it? You know what I mean? I mean, if you really want to do dumb storylines, yeah, Paul Heyman could give a contract 6 months from now and call someone out. And that person, I'm not signing it. I'm not signing it. Okay, storyline done. You know, you really want to, if Oba Femi wants to go into business for himself next week on Raw, the ruler says, I'm not signing it. No. You stay retired. Of course he's not going to do that. Fans want to see it. So that's what I think. That's what I think is going on. So we shall see. We shall see. I can't wait for all the bullshit news sites out there. Backstage news on why Brock Lesnar returned. You know, reports of bullshit. Nobody has that connection. Nobody has that connection. So, all right. I want to let's get into more of Raw. Then we'll get into some wrestling news. And towards the latter part of the show, we'll play a little NASH Invaders, and we'll call it a night. I got a pretty heavy day tomorrow, you know, with the funeral and other shit going on. So, all right. So we had Raw in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I do want to go out of place, and I do want to talk about one thing very important, because I already see a lot of buzz about this. And I think we should nip this shit in the bud right away. People will clickbait it and try to stir up controversy. Becky Lynch is not defending the women's the women's intercontinental championship against Sol Ruca at Saturday Night's Main Event. She is not. And there is a very big reason why she is not. Because they want to give Sol Ruca a victory over Becky Lynch without having a title change. That's why you had the first 2 losses, to make it seem like Sol Ruca is not ready. Rookie mistakes, overzealous. That's what you do. Becky Lynch thinks, she's not ready. Go back to NXT. Fucking go to the Indies. You're not ready for the big time. So Sol Ruca is like, all right, let's have a rematch. And Becky Lynch is like, yeah, no problem. And then Sol Ruca is like, I'm going to snatch that title. And Becky's like, you haven't fucking earned shit yet. You ain't getting no title shot. It's not that Becky is nervous or anything, but no, you haven't earned it. No. I make careers, I break careers. So you're going to have this match on Saturday. Sol Ruca will get the victory. It'll be a shocking victory to Becky Lynch. And then suddenly that will lead ultimately to a title match. It's kind of like an eliminator match that people use recent years. That's what this is, plain and simple. It's to give, listen, when under Vince McMahon, if we took a drink for every time there was a non-title match and someone would win against the champion, and then they would have that would be the excuse for having a title match on a pay-per-view, and then the champion would win. That's what they would do. They would have 2 people have a non-title match on television, and then some reason a champ. People used to complain, Vince, you have too many champions losing, while they have the titles. It was notorious back then with the New Day, with the Usos and others. You want to have a match on a pay-per-view against someone. They did it with fucking Alpha Academy like a year or 2 ago. I don't remember exactly what show it was. Well, they had a fucking non-title match and they got a victory. I'm like, for what? They're like, so they have an excuse to do it, to make the match on a pay-per-view, a premium live event, and then they lost. So this is the reason why Sol Ruca is not getting a title shot on Saturday, because they wanted to get a victory, but not put the championship on her yet. It is too soon. It is too soon. She was awesome in NXT. She will have an awesome career in WWE. Barring injury or fuck up, she could end up being a Hall of Famer in the future. She's got it all. You look at her, it's kind of like Charlotte Flair meets Lita meets, like you could see like a couple of different wrestlers all rolled up into one. She's got it. She absolutely has it. There is no reason to put the championship on her this quickly. So you do a non-title, so Sol Ruca can get the victory. And Becky is still a champion, but now Sol's got a victory over her. And that's how you do it. And listen, I could be wrong. If I was a betting man, I would absolutely bet on Sol Ruca on Saturday. So I wanted to get that out of the way because I saw people already stirring shit up online. Some people saying it's a title match. It's not. And some people like, why would they not? Why are they screwing Sol Ruca? They're not screwing Sol Ruca. The whole storyline is 2 losses. She's not ready. She's still, inexperienced, kind of nerves are getting to her. And then, Becky feels a little bit too overconfident, and here comes Sol Ruca with the fucking victory. Saturday night's main event. Shocking victory. And that leads to a future storyline. So, anyway, I'm a New Yorker. So I say Sol Ruca. Sol Ruca. It's just the way I talk. So I know how you pronounce her name. Sol Ruca. Like better call Sol. That's what better call Sol Ruca. All right. So we open up with Roman Reigns. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. Where's my gratuitous Roman Reigns Jacob Fatu graphic? There you are. There you are. Roman shows up. He gets out of the fucking car and he grabs his title from someone. He bumps into Adam Pearce. And Roman is being read the riot act by Adam Pearce. You should have listened to me last week. Roman says, not only am I not listening to you, I'm calling out Jacob Fatu right now. And before anything can happen, you hear, Fatu. Jacob is like, bitch, you calling me out? I'm fucking in the ring already. I'm calling your ass out, your ghetto ass, your punk ass. So Roman, the funny thing about it is, if you go back and you watch that segment, what happened to Roman? Roman got out of the car. Roman is right in the room before Gorilla. Roman's with Adam Pearce, and Roman's like, I'm going to call Jacob Fatu right now. I'm going to call his ass out right now. Jacob Fatu hits the ring. What did Roman have to go do pee-pee? Because the Usos came out instead. And I'm like, where's Roman? Like, what happened? Did some Make-A-Wish kids go in the back and they're like, please, could you sign it? Could you sign? Could we take a selfie? Like, what happened? Did he have a confrontation with some overcrazed fan? He didn't come out for like 6 minutes. What happened? I'm calling his ass out right now. But no, we'll just have the Usos come out there first. So Jacob Fatu's in the ring. The Usos music hits. By the way, I'm really loving Jey Uso's haircut. Definitely love that haircut. I think it looks 10 times better on him. So Jimmy gets the mic. And if you pay close attention, Jimmy got booed. When Jimmy said to Jacob Fatu, all you had to do was acknowledge the tribal chief. That got booed. Because again, that sounds like children shit. Like, what are you, 6? You should have acknowledged the tribal chief. What are you, 6? Like, seriously, the fans are like, oh God, it's like baby shit. So, then they kind of gotta try to blur the line. Like, what do you want to do? Get fired? You want to go back to prison? You want to do this? You want to do that? They make it, ooh, they're really going there. Jacob Fatu don't care. It's all scripted. But, Jimmy is like, throwing that shit to Jacob, so Jacob fucking nails his ass. So then Jey Uso grabs a chair, starts chair bassing Jacob. He no-sells it, hits a Tongan death grip on Jey Uso. Now finally Roman Reigns' music hits. And Roman's taking his time. He got, not only does his music hit, but you got to wait until the operas stop singing. You don't have the music hit and he just briskly walks down the ring like, hey, you fucking with my cousins? No problem. I'm going to fucking beat your ass. No, you got to hear, oh, oh. And then once you hear the chorus end, then Roman's like, okay, now I could come out. So he walks out. Jacob stops beating on the Usos. He's just staring a hole through Roman Reigns. Roman gets to the ring and they start exchanging punches. Jacob Fatu puts the Tongan death grip on Roman Reigns. The Usos get a little bit of leverage. Jay with a spear, Jimmy with a splash, 1D on Jacob Fatu. Then they tie his ass in the ropes. And then you see Roman with a pair of Superman punches, a spear, and they leave his ass laying. So they leave his ass laying. And they walk down the rampway, and Adam Pearce comes out because Adam Pearce was going to fire Jacob Fatu. So Adam Pearce gets on the microphone, and this is kind of like where you miss Vince, because Adam Pearce looks at Jacob Fatu and he says, "Jacob Fatu?" Now me, it should have been Vince McMahon. "Jacob, yeah!" Before he says anything. "Hey, Roman, tribal chief, Roman, tribal combat." So Adam Pearce like, did he say what I thought he said? And all of us that remember the awful tribal combat with him and Jey Uso and Solo Sikoa, you're like, oh God, tribal combat. Fuck. I think Jacob Fatu will make tribal combat. It'll probably be the best of the three. Jacob Fatu is the true savage. Nothing against Solo, nothing against Jey Uso. But the first one sucked because they were like, oh, this is the ancestors, insisted on. And you thought they were going to be savages. You thought they were going to try to rip each other's heart out and eat it and shit it out and eat it again. We thought there was going to be amazing props and cinema and this and that. It ended up being garbage. Then we realized, that it was just like a no DQ match with some weapons. There was no tribal combat. Like truthfully, if I was Samoan savages and that was my tribal combat 1,000 years ago, fucking cavemen who were fucking mentally deranged, or even cavemen that were born without hands and feet probably looked at him like, you fucking loser pussies, we'll kick your ass. Tribal combat. Come on, that's kid shit. But I think Jacob Fatu will make it 1,000 times better because the guy's a maniac. And he does it well. And the fans know it because the fans were chanting Fatu, Fatu. Fans like him. They believe in him. So right before Adam Pearce goes, yeah, fired, Jacob gets the mic. Tribal chief, Roman, tribal combat. So Adam Pearce has the microphone and he's about to say something, and Roman Reigns, you can't just put your hand over it. You got to make the sound effect because it's obviously a microphone. You hear, I accept. And then Michael Cole's like, it has to happen in Italy. Really? That's next weekend. Why couldn't it happen like later on? Why couldn't it happen on a Saturday? Listen, I'm thankful it's not on a Saturday night's main event. I am very happy that it's going to be in Italy because Saturday night's main event, it would have been lame. It would have been rushed because Saturday night's main event, they average about 60 minutes of wrestling, 45 to 60 minutes of wrestling. If you add it up, that's usually the average, 45 to 60. And up until then, we had 3 matches announced. And that may not sound like a lot, but last year we only had the last Saturday night's main event, we only had 3 matches. Technically, it would have been 4, but wasn't it Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu who brawled and the match never started? So technically, there was 4. So adding that match to Italy, you know what that tells me? There's probably only going to be 5 matches in Italy, but every match is going to be top shelf because the first 3 that they have announced, honestly, if you would have booked that for WrestleMania, or maybe not WrestleMania, but SummerSlam, Roman Reigns versus Jacob Fatu, Tribal Combat, Gunther versus Cody Rhodes, and Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar, if you would have booked that for one of the nights, or even 2 nights, split it across 2 nights for SummerSlam, I think people would be very happy with that. I think people would say that that is very solid. I don't think you're going to get any Danhausen matches in Italy. So that's how we end up. So Tribal Combat is happening, and it's going to happen at Clash in Italy. So, and the match was made official, by the way. I do have the graphic to confirm it. By the way, just a reminder, next Saturday, Clash in Italy starts at 2 p.m. Eastern. That is New York time. So 2 p.m., Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, not Saturday. We will definitely talk about it on the sit-down next Sunday. So that match, it is official. We had a really, really good match between Finn Balor and JD McDonough. This was really off the hook. They had a street fight. this is a match that, this is the third time that they fought each other. JD McDonough had a victory. Finn Balor had a victory. And tonight it was a street fight. And not only did they get holy shit chants, they got this is awesome chants. If you've paid close attention, we rarely get this is awesome chants on Raw, other than maybe like a Brock Oba pull apart or a Roman Reigns CM Punk brawl. You don't really get it in matches like you used to. They fucking loved this tonight. This was tremendous. There was one part where JD McDonough hit an awesome moonsault on some type of elevated structure outside near the ring, the rampway area. Fans were chanting holy shit, and kind of sucked because it went immediately to commercial, but it gave them a little bit of an extra breather. So match goes on, use kendo sticks, tables. Fucking Dominic Mysterio showed up, caused some interference, can't get DQ'd. JD McDonough does a superplex on Finn Balor through a table, but because JD also got injured, he had a delayed pin attempt, so Finn Balor kicked out of 2. So this was creative, but kind of goofy. There was one point where Dom throws a pair of cans in the ring, trash cans. Dom grabs one, JD grabs one, and they're hitting Finn Balor. They're hitting him in the back, his neck, his not his head, but they're doing a number on Finn Balor. And then Finn Balor drapes over the middle rope, 619 territory. So JD McDonough holds Finn Balor on the rope, and it was interesting because if you look closely, Finn Balor's neck was pushed against the rope. And Dominic Mysterio runs to the other side of the ring to execute a 619. Now, I'm not saying this to be like funny or outdated or anything, but I never knew that when you execute a 619, you do like a Fernando Valenzuela. If anybody remembers that picture, if you remember when that guy used to pitch, he would get in his windup and he doesn't keep looking at the batter when he throws the pitch. He winds up and then he looks in the corner of it, like he looks up in the sky and like looks the other way. And then he scared some people big time because he'd be like, holy shit, like he's looking totally different direction. And then he throws fucking 90 miles an hour at somebody. So I never knew Dominic Mysterio, when he executes a 619, he doesn't see where he's running. Because as Dominic runs the ropes and starts running to execute the 619, Finn Balor somehow reverses it, gets out of there, puts JD McDonough's head in the rope, and Dom hits the 619 anyway. It's like, what was Dom doing? Like running the ropes and just looking the other way as he's doing it? So he hits JD with the 619. Finn throws the pail over JD McDonough, hits the double stomp, hits the coup de grace, gets the victory. And that's how Finn Balor gets the win. It was an awesome fight. I'm not taking anything away from it. But man, when I watched that 619, I was like, that was kind of goofy. It's kind of like when Liv Morgan, when she tossed the brass knucks, like the referee was looking right at Liv, and Liv just like threw them behind her, and like, how did the referee just not see that? I could see back in the day, like they would make like a concerted effort to hide it. I'm not, like when we used to see George the Animal Steel, and George the Animal Steel would bring like a weapon in the ring and he'd hold it in his hand and he'd hit somebody with it. And the referee would be like, what the fuck is going on? So the referee would go to check George the Animal Steel, and he would turn the other way and climb the top of the ropes and put it in his mouth. Not in his hands. He was holding like this. And then he turns it on, and then he puts it like this, and he puts it like, fans would be like, look, look, look. And by the time the ref looked, it'd be gone. But this is like where it's obvious you see it, and, we shouldn't be analyzing it this deep, but it was what it was. So, a little surprise. We had Kathy Kelly today. She was dressed like a tiger. I guess it's a tiger, right? I love the outfit. She was interviewing Seth Rollins. And, Seth Rollins, listen, this whole storyline has been so predictable. When he said that he's got to end the vision, we said it last week. Oh, here it comes. He's going to fight Austin Theory. Then he's going to fight Logan Paul. And ultimately, he'll fight Braun Breaker. Like, this is what Seth Rollins is plans are for the next month. So Seth Rollins is with Kathy Kelly. She's like, I must end division. I must. And then he reminds us that he hasn't had a match on Raw in 9 months. So he gets the main event tonight. He said he'll face division. He'll face one. He'll face them all. Now, in storyline, why wouldn't all three members of the division be like, yeah, let's do it. 3-on-1. You dumb Pollock. You said you'll face all of us. Yeah, here we go. No, instead, Seth Rollins is like, hey, Nepo baby. Hey, Brock, why don't you step up? I'm hoping he's the one that answers the challenge. The guy that thinks he has it. Why don't you step up? Now, if I'm Braun Breaker, I'd be a little pissed off. Like, yeah, let me beat his ass again. So Seth Rollins throws the challenge, and he's kind of like, it's kind of the bad. If you remember Andrew Dice Clay and Ford Fairlane, remember when he's fighting Robert Englund, Freddy Krueger? Robert Englund has got a knife in it. No, he's got a gun in his hand. He's got a gun in his hand. And, he had a gun in his hand. And Andrew Dice Clay is yelling at him, and he's like, come on, man. If I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out the right way. Don't be a pussy. Throw the fucking gun down. Let's fight mano a mano. I'll kick your fucking ass. Come on, you pussy, you piece of shit. Come on. And Robert Englund is like having second thoughts. He's like, wow, this guy's really fucking berating me. And Robert Englund is like, all right. He throws the gun down, and he's like, any way you want. So instead, he takes out a knife. And fucking Andrew Dice Clay is like, just throw the gun down for you. He takes out a gun, he blows him away. Like when Seth Rollins does that, come on. You're trying to, you say I'll fight all three. But come on, Braun, you pussy. You think you got it? You're a Nepo baby. You're just a fucking another Steiner. Your fucking cousin's going to come here in no time and fucking kill it. You suck. You this and that. Come on. I challenge all three of you, but if you're a real man, why don't you fight me? No, instead, we get Austin Theory. Big wet fart. I'm a fan of Austin Theory, but come on, man. And the funny thing about it was when they make the match, Braun is in the back with Logan Paul, Austin Theory, and Paul Heyman. Braun tells Paul Heyman, I want the match. Make the match. And Paul Heyman looks at Braun Breaker and he says, that's a great idea. That's why tonight it's going to be Seth freaking Rollins versus Austin Theory. Braun is looking at him like, huh? And Austin Theory's like, why? And Logan Paul's like, don't worry, I got you back. Yeah, come on. So they walk off, and Braun Breaker's looking at Paul Heyman, and he's like, why? And Paul Heyman is like, you will know exactly where Seth Rollins will be. So it's kind of like, you don't have to worry about him sneak attacking you. Like, you know where he'll be. You know what time he'll be out there. So you hold the cards. And Braun is looking at Paul Heyman is like, yeah, that's a great idea. And then we get the fucking main event. And I'm sorry for going one step ahead, but I have to. We get the main event. Does Braun Breaker come out during the Seth Rollins-Austin Theory match? No. The guy got called out nonstop, and Braun's like, I want the fucking match. I want to beat his ass tonight. I want the rematch. And Paul Heyman's like, that's a great idea. Nah, he's going to face Austin Theory. But why? Because, think about it. You'll know where he is and what he's doing. So you could, you hold the cards. You could basically go out there and fucking do whatever you want. And he doesn't show up. He doesn't show up until after the fucking Street Profits come out there. It was just really stupid. I mean, I love Paul Heyman and everything, but he doesn't have full creative control in everything that he says out there. Didn't he even say call Brock Lesnar type, Brock Lesnar? I think we heard that, the contract is already signed. Brock Lesnar already signed the contract. So that was just, I don't know, that was a wet fart to me because it just made no sense. All right, we're going to get Austin Theory. And then lo and behold, a little bit later on, we get the return of LA Knight. So before we get into LA Knight, Saruk is in the back with Byron Saxton. Byron asks a reaction. for, first couple of weeks on Raw. Sol Ruca is excited, disappointed that she lost the 2 matches, but she's still new at this. And I got to be honest with you, I did laugh at this. She's like, I've only been at this for 4 years. And I think of Tiffany Stratton. I think of Braun and some others. And, when you say that, you've been at it for 4 years, that is a lot longer than you think. I give it credit, no doubt about it. But I would have just said, I'm still new to Raw. But, I think she added a little too much. And when she said, I've been at this for only 4 years, I'm like, yeah, there's quite a few people that are at it a lot less that, So anyway, Becky Lynch shows up and starts embarrassing her. Becky's like, you're not ready. Why don't you go back to NXT? Why don't you leave? And Sol Ruca looks at Becky. She's like, you know what? You're right. I am going to leave. So she walks off. And Becky's like, you see, that's what's wrong with today's generation. They quit too easy, this and that. But then all of a sudden we hear Sol Ruca's music hits. And Becky's like, what? Yeah, Sol Ruca was leaving because she was going to the ring. So Sol Ruca gets on the microphone and she's like, look, since, I might as well do this in the ring. Becky, get your ass out here. So Becky gets out there and they get a little bit of back and forth. And Sol Ruca wants another opportunity at Becky Lynch. And Becky Lynch, she's like, I wouldn't want anything more. There's nothing I would want more to do this in Greensboro because you all need excitement and this and that. And then she goes in a whole shtick about being the greatest and Bleacher Report is said and this and that. And Sol Ruca starts interrupting her. And Becky is like, now you got to make me say it all over again. But, I'll be honest with you. I don't like the snatch references. And I'm not trying to be disgusting here. Growing up Italian in Howard Beach, snatch was a word you would hear a lot in a very derogative way towards women. All right, that was a word that was used a lot. I don't think about it like that anymore. When I hear snatch, I'm like, hey, yeah. I remember back in the day, remember her snatch? Yeah. No, I don't think about that anymore. But it sounds too choreographed. It sounds too scripted. I'm not only going to defeat you, I'm not only going to snatch your soul, I'm going to snatch that title. I'm like, who says that? I know it's her finish and everything, but it just sounds goofy. It sounds like very, mid-90s WWE. Not even Attitude Era, but it's kind of like goofy promo area. It just feels too, I remember the one time Randy Orton cut a promo, and this is how weird shit sticks to you for some reason. I think they were in Vegas many years ago. And he said something just like Vegas, I'm going to bet on it. And it was just such a scripted promo and trying to use gambling terminology that it was just fucking awful. And I still remember it to this day in some capacity because he was trying to they obviously told him because they were in Vegas, use gambling references or whatever, but it was so Randy Orton would never say something like that. The way Sol Ruca says it, there's no attitude. It's kind of like surfboard Matt Riddle not only am I going to beat you, not only am I going to snatch your soul, I'm going to snatch that title. It's just, I don't know. It just doesn't hit me the right way. It kind of sounds goofy. It just sounds like too much of a catchphrase. Put it this way. It's kind of opposite of Danhausen. As soon as you heard Danhausen say that first time, you are cursed, you knew that was going to be on a shirt. Of course, WWE will still sell the snatch shirts, but it doesn't feel, I don't know, it's not flowing to me. But anyway, the match is on, but it's going to be non-title, as we already explained. Did you guys catch something? Did you guys catch a little reference that Michael Cole said about Bayley? I found it pretty fascinating that I actually had to do some quick research. Sol Ruca just issued the challenge to Becky Lynch. And somehow Michael Cole also references Bayley. Because remember, Sal Ruka Bailey, remember? And Michael Cole described Bailey as the legendary Bailey. That's exactly how he said it tonight on Raw. And yes, Bailey is a legend. Bailey's a future Hall of Famer. Bailey is awesome. I am a huge fan of Bailey. But I found it fascinating the way he worded it because it sounds like the past. Whenever WWE uses legendary with current talent, that usually means past their prime. Like they've been around for so long, like their peak is already passed. And then I had to do a double check. Bailey is 36. Becky Lynch is 39. Becky Lynch is even older than Bailey. Bailey made her main roster debut in 2016. Becky Lynch made her main roster debut in 2015. Becky is 3 years older and has been on the main roster a year longer than Bailey. You reference Bailey as the legendary Bailey. They don't reference it that way to Becky Lynch. And yes, I know you don't use certain adjectives about Becky Lynch, but whenever I hear Michael Cole as somebody phrase a current wrestler is legendary, it's usually someone who is almost described as their peak has passed them by. And I think that's wrong. And I don't know if anybody else got that perception to it, but I sure did. I sure did. So, Los Americanos, they defeated the original Americanos. Basically what happened here is, this was, it was like a tornado match, but Kaiser ended up putting the fucking loaded, you're getting the loaded mask, a headbutt victory. This is going to set up the mask versus masks match next weekend. I do have the lineup. There are some WWE stars on it. Bailey would be on that card too. In fact, Bailey is teasing working TNA Slammiversary that I don't think is going to happen. But it's very interesting in the exchange that she had online with a TNA wrestler. I'll tell you who that is in a little bit. But you get to see on Raw, they are the evil Americanos versus the baby faces, even though the Creed brothers are not really baby faces, but you get the deal. In AAA, it's complete opposite. I even said this on X yesterday. When Kaiser betrays AAA, that's going to be like a Hogan betrayed WCW moment. It's not going to be on that level, but you're going to see garbage thrown in that ring. The day Kaiser betrays AAA, it is going to be, he might as well wear a bulletproof vest to that ring. I see it a mile away. The day Kaiser fucking betrays AAA and turns heel, my God, that crowd is going to fucking lose it. And it's going to be a beautiful thing. No, we don't want Kaiser to get hurt, obviously, but, they're taking Kaiser very seriously. The guy, it's insane how over he is. You watch a little AAA, it kind of blows your mind how over that guy is. We did see Michael Cole do a little sit-down interview with Ethan Page, just to hype up Saturday night's main event. He's going to add the word fear in Penta's vocabulary. No, you're not. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Ethan Page, and they have started the right way with him, but there ain't no way. Listen, I could see Oba Femi squash Ethan Page for the championship like this. I could see that on a future episode of Raw. I could see Oba coming out, squashing him, getting the title. But I think fans want to see Oba beat Penta. I think that is a match is more even. I think it would be more intense. I think it would be a good challenge for Oba. But, I could also see Ethan Page being the chicken shit champion and then ultimately Oba coming out and squashing him like Ultimate Warrior honky tonk man territory. I really do. I could see it. Now, when we get to predictions later on, I'm undecided which way I'm going to go with that. But, they have to try to make it feel that, Ethan Page has a shot. So, we had the women's tag team titles on the line tonight. Paige and Brie Bella defending against Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. I know Brie and Roxanne is nostalgia. I know this is, oh, my screen froze over here. My apologies. I don't know if anybody's been chatting, but I just noticed my screen is frozen. Let me just reload. Let me reload my browser. My browser. Just give me 1 second, guys. We're live on the tube of you right now. So, all right, we're good. I know I didn't disconnect, but I wanted to reload. Couldn't see if anybody was typing. I know Paige and Brie Bella's nostalgia. Yes, they can still work a little bit, but I watched this match tonight, and I understand that Brie Bella and Paige have some very, very hardcore loyal fans. And sure, when you're a hardcore loyal fan of someone, that person could have a Shangara match, and you kind of brush it off, you write it off, you kind of like try to like turn the other way. But, you know, you saw this match tonight and you understand why they should not be in the ring against Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez. I mean, when you literally do something where Brie Bella hits a fruit roll-up on Raquel Rodriguez, and Raquel Rodriguez, diesel, you know, huge, giant legs, and Brie Bella is just literally like rolling her up, and she's moving her legs like a turtle on its shell. You ever like turn a turtle upside down and you just see their feet going like this? I'm like, that's Raquel Rodriguez. All right. It just, I couldn't buy into it. I get it. You get unexpected victories. Saturday night's main event, it's all in the air. What's going to happen there? I also don't know how long Brie Bella is signed to a WWE deal. I, for some reason, don't think it's going to be as long as people think it'll be. I think this was more about a WrestleMania moment, and then obviously Nikki got fucked up. Yeah, they would love to wait it out for Nikki to return, and then you close out the Bellas like you should, but Nikki could be out 9 months. And are we really going to see Brie Bella on television for 9 months? You know, you look at the caliber of the WWE roster, and you hide Brie Bella a little bit by having a tag team match. You hide Paige a little bit because she's past her prime, but she could still go a little bit. You hide, you know, a little bit by having a tag match. The focus isn't on one individual person the entire match, which is the right way to go. But when I watch Brie doing a fruit roll-up to Raquel Rodriguez and she couldn't kick out, it just looks so stupid, man. Then after the match, Liv Morgan, you know, hits the ring, gets physically involved, and this leads to Bayley and Lyra to come out to make the save. You know, so I don't know. I mean, you know, you could have Lyra and Bayley feud with Roxanne and Raquel, and where is that going to lead? You almost kind of feel like the tag team of Bayley and Lyra is kind of in a situation right now. Like, they're not showing it, but something feels like 6 months from now, I don't know if they're a tag team. And when we get bad vibes like that, they usually end up happening. But, you know, Paige and Brie Bella retain the titles. So now on Saturday night's main event, they're going to defend again, against Nia Jax and Lash Legend. Oh my goodness. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen there. So, just to start bringing Raw home a little bit, we got a little confrontation with LA Knight and Jimmy Uso, throwing a little bit of shade. You know, he is, you know, it's nice to see LA Knight back. You know, I watched a lot of news people the last week, like trying to figure out, will he be back? When will he be back? Like, they didn't know exactly. No one knew exactly when he was going to be back, but he was back tonight. And let's be honest, it was a whole bunch of nothing. It was a whole bunch of nothing because LA Knight has been saying this shit to the Usos about Roman Reigns since I was in diapers. All right? This has been going on for far too fucking long. I mean, if you really look at it, this shit has been the same shit since last year. Now, they kind of throw a little bit of a swerve because later on, LA Knight has got his balls in a bunch with Seth Rollins as well. And he said something to Seth that I put in bold lettering because I wanted to make sure I did not forget this. He bumps into Seth Rollins because Seth Rollins is going to face Austin Theory. So LA Knight knows what's going to happen. The Vision are all going to gang up on Seth Rollins. So he starts throwing shade to Seth Rollins, and he's like, have fun getting your ass stomped out. Have fun getting your ass kicked. No, the enemy of my enemy is not my friend. You know, because that's a phrase we've used in the past. You know, that's what they're trying to do with the Street Profits and Seth Rollins. The enemy of the enemy is my friend. Montez will have nothing of it. Angelo Dawkins, you know, is kind of like, you know, he's kind of like the branch, the olive branch of this. But LA Knight is throwing some shade to Seth Rollins. Then out of nowhere, immediately after, he says, no. The enemy of my enemy is not my friend. You're not my friend. But I respect the fact that you want to do it alone. Huh? He literally said that right after. But I respect the fact that you want to do it alone. No, if you hate someone, you don't fucking turn around and give him a compliment. Hey, listen, you're an asshole, but I respect the fact that you're good at being an asshole. Like, you don't diss someone. And WWE's done that for far too many years. You have two people that want to kill each other. And for some reason, they'll always compliment each other. Austin Theory will say it to Seth Rollins. You know, there's no dispute. Logan Paul did that recently with fucking Seth Rollins. You know, Braun Breaker did it with Seth Rollins. CM Punk did it with Roman Reigns. If you hate someone and you're feuding with them, no, you don't give a compliment. No, I don't turn around and say, but he's nice. You know, I hate your guts. I'm going to kill, but I respect the fact that you are passionate. I respect your work ethic. No. If you're feuding with someone, you hate them, you hate them. You don't give them any reason to smile. You don't have the person go home and say, man, he fucking chewed me out. He said a lot of nasty, but he did compliment me. That pisses me off, man. That pisses me off. So we get that. So just to wrap up Raw, as we said, Oba Femi, the open challenge, the ruler. I know, we're going to retire the ruler. We won't keep bringing it out. The ruler. He comes out for his open challenge. We get the silhouette, you know, with the camera a little bit lower. So, you know, it's very cool visual. And the crowd is chanting Oba at the top of his lungs. And all of a sudden, somebody hits the ring and starts beating the fuck out of Oba Femi. Just manhandling him. And then we realize it's Brock Lesnar. And the fans are just losing it. And me, again, we talked about it earlier. I was just mystified by this because it's so soon after WrestleMania. And, you know, as that gentleman said earlier, you know, they put some very expensive merchandise on sale. And I do believe he's still retired. I really believe Brock Lesnar is still retired. But he is obviously not thrilled at Oba. And personally, if I'm WWE, and I think you will see this next week, if I'm WWE, Paul Heyman has got to just say to Oba Femi, touche. Or that's all it is. Or Oba Femi says touche. Because remember, and I think this was a point that nobody brought up tonight, Oba Femi interrupted, and you could say accepted, interrupted, sabotage, use whatever word you want. Oba Femi answered Brock Lesnar's open challenge. So now Brock Lesnar is giving it back to Oba Femi. Remember, Brock Lesnar's open challenge only lasted a week. Like, we thought, like, oh, I hope fucking Tozawa doesn't come out there. I hope we don't get Otis. I hope we don't get fucking people. Just so Brock could just manhandle him. And that was 6 weeks before WrestleMania. And literally, the first week, Oba comes out there, and that's it. So Brock gave to Oba what Oba gave to Brock. That's what I think this is, plain and simple. But it was awesome. It was awesome. And we don't need to repeat what we said earlier, but the contract has a signature on it already. Next week, the other signature will be put on it, and it will be official. Clash in Italy. One match only. Until Brock is needed again. So we get the main event. And before we get the main event, the Street Profits are in the back. They're psyched about their title match at Saturday night's main event. And for some reason, Angelo Dawkins sees Seth Rollins and he wants to, talk to him. Montez don't want nothing of it. Stay focused, man. Stay focused. Fuck him. Why do you care about him? So Angelo Dawkins has got to go over to Seth. We don't have to be friends, but kind of like playing off like, hey, thank you for having our back. We'll have your back too. And that's what happens. Seth Rollins takes on Austin Theory. Like I said earlier, we're thinking Braun Breaker is going to come out, maybe cause a DQ, fucking interrupt the match, or cause Seth Rollins the victory. But no. Instead, we have Logan Paul at ringside with Austin Theory. Logan Paul tries to give Austin Theory knucks. Logan Paul distracts the referee. And while the referee is distracted with Logan Paul, somehow Seth Rollins gets the knucks. He puts them on, the referee turns around, and you hear Logan Paul, he's a cheater, disqualify him, he's got knucks. So the referee pulls the brass knucks away from Seth Rollins. So as that's happening, Seth Rollins lays out Logan Paul, neutralizes him, and hits the stomp on Seth Rollins, Austin Theory, gets the win. And as I'm watching this, I'm thinking of the promo earlier with Paul Heyman and Braun Breaker. I'm like, where the fuck is he? So Logan Paul starts double teaming Seth Rollins, and here comes Angelo Dawkins to make the save. And he makes the save temporarily, and he starts getting beat down. So Montez is like, shit. Now I got to make the save for my fucking partner because he had to bring his ass out there. So Montez makes the save, dives onto Logan Paul outside the ring. Very impressive. Montez Ford is starting to kind of read the riot act to Angelo Dawkins. Like, come on, man, stay focused. What the fuck? Why are you out here? Then all of a sudden, now Braun Breaker shows up. Braun Breaker shows up. Maybe he had the same problem with Roman Reigns at the beginning of the show. Maybe he had to do pee-pee. Braun Breaker shows up. He fucking spears. He was going to spear Dawkins, but Montez pushed Dawkins out of the way and took the bullet for Dawkins, got speared. Then you start getting a Rollins appearance. And as this is happening, I could see people online. LA Knight, LA Knight, LA Knight. Yeah, no LA Knight. So ultimately, we get Seth Rollins. He gets a little sidetracked with Logan Paul that allows Braun Breaker to get the upper hand. And that's how we go off the air. Excellent Raw tonight. Definitely had some issues, as I said, but it did what it needed to do, and the Brock Lesnar appearance was tremendous. Was absolutely tremendous. So we have gone so far an hour and 20 minutes. We still got time. We still got shit to do. I have some very interesting quotes from Mark Shapiro of TKO. He said something that AEW fans are very, very upset about right now. He also said something about the Ronda Rousey-Gina Carano fight. And we don't cover MMA on these shows, but I got to read you a quote that he said, because he trashed that match. And he revealed that UFC was offered the fight. They turned it down. And when you hear Mark Shapiro's reason why, even people who despise Mark Shapiro, the rich bitch that he is, people agree with him. People agree with him. It's pretty wild. But anyway, I had to get into this again because we got a nice wedding picture this time around. I don't know, man. Evil don't look no evil on here. We got the Evil Sky. Io Sky and Evil got married, Naraku. They got married recently. and their marriage was revealed over the weekend. Now, what is very interesting about it, and I'm sure you guys that are older immediately thought what I thought, but I watched social media go viral with this. And you have all of these wrestling news sites, WWE's first Japanese power couple. First Japanese power couple. And I know a lot of you remember. Because when I saw that, I am a huge fan of Io Sky. I am so ecstatic that she got beyond the grumpy cat era. And they look like a really, really nice couple. And everybody is nothing but happy for them. And there's a Japanese video out there showing when he first came to the United States and having a new life in America. And it is beautiful and it's subtitled and it's really, really nice to watch. But when I saw everybody rewriting about them being the first Japanese couple in the WWE, I'm saying to myself, yeah, what happened to Kenzo Suzuki and Hiroko? And I'll always remember Hiroko because we got her topless pictures back in the day. You know, she's a very pretty woman. And listen, she posed willingly. I don't want anybody to get any like nasty comments about it, you know. But that was technically the first power couple, Japanese power couple in the WWE. And let me also say this, just to clear up some incorrect information that some people are deliberately putting out there in the podcast world. Naraku and Io Sky got married prior to Naraku really coming to the United States and debuting for WWE. I don't know exactly what date they got married, but this was kept quiet. Shit, we found out they were dating for 10 years. Most people, including me, had no idea. But we still wish them congratulations, man. Very, very nice to see for them. Very nice to see. All right, let me get into some quick news. Oh, yeah, I know what we could do. Once again, Clash in Italy. As of right now, the only matches that are official are two. Roman Reigns, Jacob Fatu Tribal Combat for the World Heavyweight Championship. And Cody Rhodes defending the undisputed WWE Championship against Gunther. Next week, Oba Femi and Brock Lesnar will be made official. I would think one women's match will be made official. I don't know if it'll be Liv Morgan having a match in Italy. She was advertised all over Italy, so you would think that Liv Morgan is probably the person, unless, do they do a 6-woman tag? Do they do the Judgment Day versus someone? Do they do somebody with SmackDown? You know, a lot of people think that JC Jane should already be put in the title picture. I think that might have been a little bit too soon. But that's the card right now. So they obviously have to add 2 matches. Probably one on Friday and one next Monday. For Saturday night's main event, I guess we could get into that now. Why don't we do Saturday night's main event right now? Let's get into those predictions. So I'll get into this one first because we already discussed it. I don't really need to add much to it. Becky Lynch taking on Sol Ruca in a non-title match, and that is strategic. They're not screwing Sol Ruca. They're not doing anything but push a storyline. They planted the seed that Sol Ruca is maybe still a little too experienced for Raw, a little too excited. And the idea is that Becky Lynch should have no problem beating Sol Ruca. Maybe Sol Ruca defeats Sol Ruca, if you know what I mean. But this is the way for Sol Ruca to get a victory over Becky Lynch without changing the title. I do want to add something else. I don't know if any of you are aware of this, but tickets for Saturday night's main event, there is a shitload of tickets still available. And the ticket prices are not bad. The ticket prices are not bad. You can find floor seats pretty close to ringside right now for $300. And I know that sounds like a lot of money, but let me go a little one step further. You could get seats in the 200 section for $80. That's not that bad for WWE standards. So, they're not going nuts with Saturday night's main event. Obviously, you don't have a Cody Rhodes on it. You don't have a Roman Reigns on it. You don't have a CM Punk on it. Don't have a Drew McIntyre on it. There's some very, very big names that are not on it. But, you know, if you live in that area and you're thinking about going to Saturday night's main event, go look at the ticket prices. You might be surprised at how cheap that they are. They're not bad. You know, again, for WWE levels, they're not bad. But I'm going with Sol Ruca. This is to get, you know, the unexpected victory. Becky Lynch will be shocked. And this will allow the feud to go to the next level, ultimately with a title shot. So she will get the victory there. All right. Here's another one that I think, we got to do the betting odds on Wednesday. I'm very curious to see what the betting odds are in this match, because I would love to see Penta defend the Intercontinental Championship against Oba Femi. I think a side-by-side confrontation in the ring, I think the fans would chant, holy shit. I think this would be a tremendous match. The thing is, does WWE want Oba to have really competitive matches outside of Brock Lesnar? That's the thing. If you want Oba to be still Goldberg-like, then you have Ethan Page defeat Penta, get the unexpected victory, almost like the way he won the NXT championship, if people remember. Remember that? You could do an unexpected victory here, and then Oba could come out in a couple of weeks and fucking a month from now and squash Ethan Page in a minute and win that title. I know what some of you are going to say. Should they squash Ethan Page like that? No. I mean, if you do an unexpected match and Ethan Page wasn't ready, that's always a storyline you could go down. And it's like, okay, Ethan Page got squashed, but he wasn't ready for the match. He wasn't planning on defending the title and, you know, blah, 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 blah. The problem is, I don't know if WWE would book Penta versus Oba like us as fans would want. I could see WWE be more of Ethan Page gets under your skin, showing off that title, touting, just being like a chicken shit, but a conceited chicken shit. And then after like a month of just that nonsense, here comes Oba and just neutralizes him. I think the fans would pop even bigger. I think what it comes down to is, where do you think WWE goes with Oba after Brock? I mean, I haven't even thought about what that outcome could be with Brock. So I'm going to go with Penta to retain, because I think Penta versus Oba is a match the fans really want to see. Man, but I got to be honest with you, I could see Ethan Page winning it. If Ethan Page wins that title, I will not be surprised. But I kind of want to, I think Penta definitely should retain. So I'm going to go with Penta, even though I'm very, very nervous about that match. Here's another one that you really could toss up in the air. Logan Paul and Austin Theory defending against the Street Profits. A lot of us feel that the Street Profits since 2022 have never gone on any really extended momentum. They've had some spurts here and there, but in the end, it just felt like just something off. And I try to think one step ahead. If Seth Rollins is going to go through Logan Paul, if he's going to ultimately get Braun Breaker, there's obviously going to still be interaction with him and the Street Profits. Now you have LA Knight involved in this in some capacity. And you're keeping LA Knight lingering with the Usos, which is kind of confusing as well. So the question is, how do you proceed with Logan Paul and Austin Theory after Saturday night's main event? Do you think of another tag team who could get together that could be a viable opponent for the Vision? Maybe the Usos down the line, but my God, you're totally consumed with this Roman Reigns, Jacob Fatu shit. So I'm trying to think one step ahead. What tag team on Raw could be the next viable threat, unless LA Knight is going to team up with someone? So I almost feel like the Street Profits could get the victory here. But I also feel it could end up with a stupid disqualification. Braun Breaker could get involved, and then you get the usual shit. Seth Rollins comes out there, makes the save, kind of, saves Montez Ford. Montez Ford, reluctant but a little appreciative of it. And then you might even see a little bit of stupidity with LA Knight getting involved with this. Like, I could see this turn into a DQ clusterfuck, which involves ultimately Seth Rollins and others. I just don't know if they should put it on the Street Profits this quickly. You feel like the Street Profits in the division have just started. You feel like it's going to continue. So, believe it or not, although I would love to see the Street Profits win the tag titles, I'm going to go with the Vision to retain. This is going to turn into a hot mess very, very quickly. So I'm going with them to retain. So that leaves us, and I also do believe that there is going to be a dark match. I think there very well could be a dark match. The problem is who? And of all of these 5 matches, I would put none of them as a dark match. You're not going to put Rhea Ripley in a dark match. No fucking way. You're not going to put Paige and Brie Bella in a dark match, even though, my thoughts on them. The other 3 matches, you absolutely are not going to. So if they do a dark match, they might do something with Danhausen or something else if they do one. But I think that they may do some type of a dark match. We're going to get between 45 and 60 minutes of wrestling, and 60 might be stretching it. But again, they added 2 additional matches, and, you're missing some very big names. So, the only saving grace about Saturday night's main event is the ticket prices are somewhat reasonable. But this 6-woman tag match, you have Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, and Rhea Ripley taking on Michin, B-Fab, and Jade Cargill. And you feel like this is going to lead to Rhea Ripley having another match with Jade Cargill. And do you give Jade Cargill a victory over Rhea Ripley via a tag match? So you get a pinfall without a title being on the line. And I almost feel like this, the only reason why this match is being put together, obviously Rhea Ripley's a big name, and fans, she might be the most over woman on that roster. But I also feel like if Jade Cargill's team is going to lose, it's either going to be B-Fab or Michin getting pinned. No question about it. But I also feel that this could be an opportunity for Jade Cargill to get, a pinfall victory on Rhea Ripley to justify, this going a little bit further. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, I don't think are a future together. I think that ultimately they're going to be splitting up. That's kind of run its course. So I'm going to go with B-Fab, Michin, and Jade Cargill to get the victory there. So that leaves us one more match. I can't believe we're using this match as the last one. Nia Jax and Last Legend challenging Brie Bella and Paige once again for the women's tag titles. Now, obviously, they're keeping Lyra and Bayley visible. Do they end up challenging next? You look at Fatal Influence, you kind of feel like that might be something that they're planning sooner than later. You look at Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. Do they get sidetracked with Bayley and Lyra and they're not challenging for a tag title again? So the big question is, if you have Nia and Last Legend win the belts back, who are they feuding with next? Are they suddenly going to be on Raw? I don't think so. Because remember, there's only one set of women's tag titles. So who would be the most logical team to be on Raw and make a periodic appearance on SmackDown? I feel it could be Paige and Brie Bella. I agree. I don't think Paige or Brie Bella should defeat Last Legend or Nia Jax. I just wonder one step ahead. If Last Legend and Nia Jax end up winning those tag titles back, who is the next team to feud with them? If you're going to start positioning Fatal Influence in the title picture sooner than later, I could see them defeating Paige and Brie Bella a hell of a lot more than Last Legend and Nia Jax. And I don't know if Bayley and Lyra Vicaria are going to be back in the tag title picture. That's why I kind of think this is why we saw tonight on Raw. So believe it or not, I think Paige and Brie Bella are going to retain. But I also feel that is not jumping the shark, but I don't think they should keep the belts for that much longer. Nice little nostalgia. The only thing is, what do you do with Brie Bella and Paige after they drop the titles? Remember, they were a makeshift tag team because Nikki got injured. They're not supposed to remain a tag team. Yes, they're close buddies and everything, but they don't scream number one contender. So once their run is done, what do you do? I don't know. I honestly think Brie Bella's run is going to be very short. And they'll tease on their podcast for the next 6 months like, hey, I'm not retired. I'll be back soon. Don't never say never. You might see him at SummerSlam. And then by the end of the year, Nikki Bella might be able to do something. And then you go into next year, and then maybe they do get a little WrestleMania match next year. That's what I think they could do with this. I don't think it'll be goodbye, but I think it might be a little sayonara for a little while. So that's your Saturday night's main event card. Okay, let's get into a couple other news tidbits, and then we got a jet. I definitely, I wasn't planning on doing this, but I honestly think it's needed. I honestly think this needed. Mark Shapiro. I don't like him, but he is one of the biggest names in TKO, so when he talks, you have to listen. 2 years, we talked about Mark Shapiro and prepped everyone what is happening now with WWE and ticket price and everything like that. We were talking about it when Kev was still with us. Missed that man. But we were warning everyone 2+ years ago what was coming. So I take what Mark Shapiro says very seriously. I don't like the man, but I got to take it seriously. He was at the JP Morgan Chase Global Technology Media and Communications Conference. Shitload of bigwigs at these events. Very, very big events. And when you talk, this isn't like E.F. Hutton, but when you talk, people listen. So he talked about a bunch of topics. The two that stood out to me was what he said about Paramount, who's buying Warner Brothers Discovery, and what he said about Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano. I'll tell you what he said about Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano first, because some of you will be fascinated by this. He says that the match was pitched to them and they turned it down. He said that's to take nothing away from Netflix. They're a great partner and clearly know what they're doing across the board. Netflix is in the big event business. They want big spectacle events, and they saw this as a big spectacle event. We're in the MMA business on a meaningful and consistent basis. When we looked at this potential match, Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano, keep in mind there is a real art to matchmaking. There's a skill to matchmaking. When you ask Hunter Campbell and Dana White what they think of that matchup prior to it happening, their answer was, quote, that fight will be over in 20 seconds. They were off by just a few seconds. I don't think a fight like that, just the way it played out, is really good for MMA, especially because it's Netflix and they have an incredibly good global audience. For them to go to that fight and think that that's what MMA is, I don't think it's good for the sport long term. We saw it that way and decided to pass on Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano. Take nothing away from the legend of Ronda Rousey and the wins she got, I guarantee incredible viewership numbers. For us, it was more of a stunt than a meaningful MMA event. That's fascinating. That is fucking fascinating. And again, people that can't stand Shapiro are saying, yeah, he's making very good points. So now he talks about Paramount. Now, obviously, they're not going to mention AEW. They're going to act like they don't exist, because the more you ignore the letters AEW, the more you trigger the whacked out fan base, the more you trigger Meltzer, the more you trigger even Tony Khan. Tony Khan's grown up a little bit, but not as much as you think. After what we played yesterday, you know what I'm talking about. So when he was asked about Paramount purchasing Warner Brothers Discovery, he is the first person, no wrestling dirt sheet writer, no Hollywood agent, no podcaster, no news media guy. This is now a billionaire executive from TKO saying it. I'm not discounting what some of those gentlemen have said leading up to now. They all made very valid, credible points. But this is the first time you have somebody in TKO saying something directly about this deal. And this is what he said. And I'm telling you, remember this. This is very, very important. He says, and I quote, "We're very excited what's ahead. And that is when and if they close their Warner Brothers this deal, which at this point, everything looks thumbs up. And I think it should happen. By the way, TKO will benefit from that. We have an opportunity for UFC and Zuffa Boxing, not just on the Paramount networks, as you know, but TNT, which is known as a sports network, TBS, which is known as a sports network, HBO, which has historically been a big boxing network. And then you throw Bleacher Report in there, not to mention if you really pay attention to what they're doing on a marketing standpoint and the way they're distributing content, they have all the kind of partnerships with YouTube, and we will all benefit from that. Yes, he did not say professional wrestling, but the point is TKO will be all over Paramount when they get the keys to Warner Brothers Discovery. So now the question is, because they're going to be in bed with Paramount as deep as they are, will they, or will Paramount rock that boat by allowing AEW to remain? Now, I don't mean to be a dick, and I know I have a kind of a comedic picture up on the screen right now, but this goes back to what I said yesterday when Tony Khan talked about how he turns the other cheek now when he hears rumors about WWE. You don't turn the other cheek. You are in the world of billionaires. No one turns the fucking cheek. You turn the other cheek, they will punch it. And this is why I believe people in AEW, wrestlers, writers, corporate people, legal, dirt sheet writers, they are all quietly, some verbally, but mostly quietly, setting up AEW as the victim. That they're just trying to fill a void with wrestling, give an alternative, that they love what they're doing and they're not trying to hurt anybody. And, you know, Tony Khan is keeping silent and he's turning the other cheek and he's, you know, believing, you know, Jesus is more in his life. And I believe all the religion stuff that he said. But it's like a bad Star Trek film. It's like a bad Star Trek episode. You go to a planet with savages and you don't go there with fruit and say, we come in peace. The savages will grab your fruit and eat you alive. And they'll be like, yeah, you did come in peace. Here's a piece of a leg. Here's a piece of an arm. Here's a piece of a foot. If Tony Khan thinks in the billionaire world that you could just turn the other cheek and be a nice guy, all right, social media will eat it up. He didn't release anybody during the pandemic. He's such a wonderful man. He should have been on Time's Man of the Year. That was a very noble thing for him to do. But in the corporate world, if it was a publicly traded company, AEW stock would have tanked. Any investor would have been like, like, how are you not cutting down finances during a pandemic? You're going to just pay everyone? Why am I giving my money for this? This is the corporate world. This is the billionaire world. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. I'm not fond of it. I am a little jealous of it. But the more this guy tries to play the innocent puppy, the innocent victim, we're just trying to have fun. We're trying to be a fan. Like, everybody loves wrestling. It's just an alternative. We're not trying to poke fun. We're not trying to screw anybody over. Why can't you just, please, leave us alone? Dustin Rhodes does that a lot. I love Dustin Rhodes. To me, he's one of the most genuinely beautiful, nice people, authentic people out there. But I watched for 3-4 years AEW whack jobs just totally creating a nuclear atmosphere online. And this motherfucker stood silent, didn't say nothing. Didn't even say, like, guys, I know you're big supporters of AEW, but that's not needed. That's not what we're about. Don't do that. Everybody in AEW kept fucking silent. And then when you poke the bear and poke the bear and poke the bear, and a lot of these AEW rejects, and there's WWE rejects as well, but once they poke the bear too much, and Nick Khan's like, yeah, let's fuck with them a little bit. Yeah, let's fuck with them a little bit. Let's just remind them who's the fucking boss here. And then all of a sudden, Dustin Rhodes with his tweets like, why can't we all get along? At the end of the day, we just all love wrestling. We need to be better. We need to do better. We need to do this. We need just no, you're too fucking late, man. Too late. You fucking poked the bear too many years, and now the bear is biting back, and you don't like it. So, I applaud his attempts, but a little too late. And just because that guy could out-wrestle anybody out of a paper bag and could kick my ass doesn't mean that Dustin Rhodes is street smart. He might be street smart to know, hey, I don't think this is real. What are you trying to sell me, fucking baby powder here? All right, that might be his level of street smart. He's great in the ring and he's a genuinely good guy. But, when we talk about robbing Peter to pay Paul and people are, huh? What the hell does that mean? These people are in a bubble. And you have to understand this world that these people are involved in, because it is going to affect the future. And I don't know what ends up happening with AEW on Paramount. Again, we don't know until Paramount has the keys to the house. Once they open up the door, then they could turn around and say, yeah, you can stay around for a little while. Or they could say, get the fuck out of here. We don't know. We don't know. And people will try to claim like they know. People will act like they figured it out. But at the end of the day, they don't know. They don't know. So they try to play the victim. That's why Dave Meltzer, he said he talked to one person in WWE. One. They have hundreds of employees, if not thousands. He talked to one. And people in WWE are talking about AEW and maybe not having a future on Warner Bros. Discovery. Why is that news? That's common sense. But he puts it out there and Tony Khan immediately sees it, has that 15 seconds of awkward pause yesterday, and then all of a sudden, that's what he pulls out of the bag. Everybody else that's been talking about this TV deal, he's kept silent about. And here's Dave Meltzer mentioning one person he claims to talk to WWE, and that sets off Tony Khan. You need to understand that. I don't agree with it. But again, Tony, I know you love Dave, and I know you love some of your hardcore supporters. Take it from, here in New York. You turn the other cheek and they will punch it. All right? They will punch it. All right? Don't turn the other cheek. Don't turn any cheek. Just worry about your backyard. And don't act like, it's kind of like that poem, The Snake. You bring in a snake and the snake is sick and you recover it and you do all these things. And this poem about the snake. And then what happens? The woman brings in the snake's close to death. She takes care of the snake. She feeds it. She coddles it. She plays with it. She rubs it. I know that sounds kind of wrong. And then all of a sudden the snake gets back to life. You saved my life. Thank you so much. And then he fucking attacks her. and she's laying on a bed dying of poison. She's like, why did you do that? And he looks at her and he says, because I'm a fucking snake, moron. You know, I buy a piranha. I'll give the piranha beautiful fish, live goldfish, give him fucking cheese, give him filet mignon. I will give that fucking piranha anything it wants. I will you give it everything and treat it like gold. And that piranha wagging his little fins like, oh, you know, I love my master. I put my hand in the fish tank. I guarantee it bites it off. But I treated you like gold. I'm a fucking piranha, you moron. That's the billionaire world that they're in. Anyone out there that tries to tell you otherwise, don't get it. So, all right. We still got a little time. We didn't even bring in Zoey Serrano. Wasn't there a baseball player on Major League, the movie, Pedro Serrano? Is she related to Pedro Serrano? I don't know. Maybe not. Yeah, let's mention Zoey for a minute. She's coming back in July. She's got the 90 days no compete, even though she's had the 377 days of no compete. So she's taking that extra 90 days, which is fine. I mean, you know, I would take the money from TKO. Fuck that, man. So she put out a video, and we are allowed to share the video. I'm not going to knock it. I'm just going to share it, and you could get an idea of what Zoey Serrano plans on doing. So here's the video.
Yeah. When I hurt my knee a year ago.
Zoey Stark suffering a gruesome injury on live TV during WWE's Monday Night RAW.
It was hard, man. It was so hard. Because I don't think people understand how much I love wrestling. This is what I live for. This is what I believe I was put on this earth for. Is to be in this ring. To perform. This is it for me. This is all I've ever wanted to do.
Zoey Stark of the WWE suffered a very gruesome-looking leg injury last night in Monday Night's Raw. The injury was, in fact, severe enough to where she needed to be carried off of the floor.
What went wrong?
Yeah, I mean, you know, what did go wrong? I mean, this is something that we've seen before. We've seen Zoey Stark do this many times, the missile drop kick off the top rope.
I hope I'm wrong, but from the weight that went down on it, height that she came down from, I'd be shocked if that wasn't like some major tearing.
Worked my ass off to get cleared. Everyone keeps asking, Zoey, are you ready? Are you 100%? What's going on? Well, I guess you're gonna find out, huh? Wrestling was my escape. The number one thing in my life. And the good thing is now is that I get to show that. I get to express that in my own way. So I'm so happy that you guys get to be on this journey.
No, to me, this is just the beginning. This is a fresh start. This ring, right here.
I'm sorry, man. I can't. I just can't, man. I just can't. I wish her luck, man. I hope she kills it. I hope YouTube fucking hits me with a copyright so I could edit that out. I applaud her comeback. She obviously cares a lot about wrestling, and I mean that wholeheartedly. But I'm not going to be this fucking cake and ice cream person here. I listen to that. I hear fucking rock music, dark room, fucking a school person that she's doing moves with. Very, very strategic editing. I mean, sound bites from fucking news from a year ago. It's like, I'm not sold on it. I mean, I'm sorry. I can't. You know, like I have nothing personal against her. We forgive the Pure Fusion Collective and all that other stuff. But, you know, I hope it works. And I think this is probably where she got it from. I hope this works. I hope this works. I hope I could come back. You know, I wish her well. I'm not trying to be a jerk here. I'm just trying to be a little realistic. You know, like, we feel bad you got injured. We feel bad that you had a torn injury. All right. You know, it happens. You come back hopefully stronger and kill it. I hope she does. I really do. But putting choreographed music and editing and fucking, you know, sound bites, you know, it just, I don't know. It's not enough for me. You know, she got cleared in February. Where's all the training videos leading up to it? All we saw is, I'm in a wheelchair in a hospital, and I'm cleared to do this, and I can move my knee, and I can do this, and like, this is what we should have been watching. I get it. She's under WWE contract up until April, so she probably couldn't go further. But you know, where's the training videos in the dungeon? Where's the videos of her doing more? Where's the side? Everybody else uses social media to build up, you know, their resume, to build up their worth, to build up. Everybody else, you know, seems to do that. Now it's being done, you know, I don't know. I just feel like after watching that, if I'm a Zoey Stark fan, I'm rooting for her. But I'm watching that and I'm saying to myself, am I missing something? I don't know. I hope she shuts it. I hope she makes me what I'm saying wrong, because I've been wrong in the past as well. But I don't know, man. I didn't watch that deep enough to realize, yeah, I wish her well. I'm trying to be nice about it, but I'm trying to be very, very realistic too. You know, inspirational, absolutely. I don't buy tickets for inspiration. I buy tickets to be entertained. I don't know what this is going to do. You know, you want to turn into a fucking psychopath, you know, and have a gimmick like that? Okay, you might be able to sell me on it. We know you could wrestle, but unfortunately, everybody knows how to wrestle. Even the garbage or the opening talent on indie shows could wrestle. This isn't fucking 15 years ago when you get ticket sellers and jobbers and this and that. Everybody could fucking work. So how do you stand out? That's the problem. You could have Bully Ray root for you. You could have Bully fucking Ray Cyrus root for you. You could have people, you know, all your wrestling buddies and, you know, the rosters and former rosters all saying, you know, you go, girl, you keep doing it. That's good. That is inspirational. At the end of the day, it's about ticket sales, about, you know, followers. Every wrestler has a follower. Even the shittiest of the shitty out there have followers. She has followers. I'm not saying that she's shitty, but I'm sorry. I don't see anything that is going to get it to the next level. I hope there is something that she has that WWE really kept under wraps. And if she does, I will be the first person here to praise it, compliment it, because I don't like seeing people fail. I do like see people succeeding, but I also am very, very realistic about it. And that's why even some people that I'm friends with in wrestling over the years, even when Kev was still with us, you know, what did they used to say? You know, you complimented people when they needed it. You criticized people when they needed it. And sometimes you just tell someone, fuck you. You know, you just have to be realistic about it. If everything is cake and ice cream and, you know, everybody's telling, oh, you know, you got it, this and that, and then it doesn't equate to anything, you know, or if it's nowhere near the level that she anticipated it, you know, whose fault is that? You want to make people feel good and you want to root for them, you want to support them, and you want to help them along the way. But sometimes, there's only so far you can go. And we've seen that over the years, over and over and over again. We brought up recently Cameron Grimes. I felt bad for that guy. He was crying and everything like that. And, you know, I'm going to show WWE they made a big mistake and you watch me and this and that. 2 years later, it's the same guy. Nothing changed. After 2 years, he signed with MLW. You think he had this greatest accomplishment. You know, it's like, no wonder why they let you go. You know, there's a lot of people out there that think that their value is higher. The problem with Zoey Stark is what she needs to remember is that there's 1,000 women out there that are just as good as her, as hungry as her, and might have, just as much of an opportunity. How do you get yourself over those people? How do you get yourself to the next level? You can't just simply say, former WWE superstar, former Pure Fusion Collective member. No, you have to get people attached. You could have 1,000 people on social media say, that's awesome, you killed it. Oh, you go, girl, you got it. You still got it, this is that. And that feels great and everything. Are any of them buying a ticket? Are any of them buying merchandise? Are any of them showing a picture of them wearing your shirt? Are they any of them doing anybody could write a feel-good thing on X and then they go to sleep. Yeah, I gave my compliment of the day. Now I could go to sleep feeling like I'm a better person. So unfortunately, it's going to be more than just likes and, retweets and you go, girl. And that's my honest take on it. I want to see her do better, but, I got to see more. So, the first half of that video is like sympathy. I blew out my knee. I don't need to hear 5, 6 different podcasters saying the same shit over and over and over again. I think she tore it. Now you post that after it's healed? You're like, I don't know. That's why it's indies. Kevin Nash. The man. We call him Karen Nash. I think it finally hit him. He went on his podcast and he said, I've got enough moles in the business where I know the people who took the 50% pay cuts. I know one of the guys, and when I found out what the person was making, I just picked myself off the ground that he was making that much money. Then I realized even at 50%, the guy's making huge money. Oh my God, you just fucked Andrew Yang. You just gave him a red ass. Because what Kevin Nash just said is what we all knew all along. These people that are getting 50% pay cuts are still making millions. It's just that, unfortunately, for some people, look, hey, we're not using you the way we thought. When we signed you a year ago, we kind of thought we were going to go in this direction. Unfortunately, things change, and we'd love for you to still be around, but we can't give you $4 million. We'll give you $2 million. Boo fucking who? Here's this guy shitting the bed with TKO and saying all this evil stuff, and it didn't get him any more viewers on X or on YouTube. It didn't give him any more revenue. All he did was burn bridges. No, you could enjoy your protein bars and your bananas at home. So what did I do? I said, fuck it. I needed to get my mind off of problems today. I took the inspiration from Maven Invaders and I created Nash Invaders. So the gameplay is still exactly the same. And I am putting headphones on. Because the audio, I have to mute my mic. Otherwise it'll echo. But we are going to show you Maven Invaders. I made it today. And we'll just play it for like a minute just to give an idea. I will edit it for my friends on the audio side of things, but I'm going to show you the intro that I made and you'll see the game, listen to the sound effects, and if there's enough demand, I will make more of them. I will take suggestions on who we should do next. So in 2002, I created Maven Invaders. Now recreate Nash Invaders. Let's put it on the screen. There we go. Nash Invaders. Oh, this is going to be good. I want you to hear the intro. I got to see if I can do the intro. And the only thing I haven't been able to figure out is for some reason F2 is not starting the game. So I literally have to do the menu. But if I hit stop, this is the intro that I made for this video, for this game. Let's see. Were you able to hear that? I hope you were able to hear that because I didn't mute my mic. And for some reason, I think the audio came out. Did you guys hear that? You didn't hear it? Fuck. All right, let me do it again. Now I will keep my mic muted. All right, this you'll definitely hear. Hold on. Now it should work. Did you guys hear that? I hope you did. Now you can hear it? All right, good. All right, so I'm going to mute myself. I'll try not to talk. Just tell me one last time. Could you hear that? Were you able to hear that? Okay. Just one more test. Let me know if you can hear this. All right, cool. All right, so let's play the game. I'm killing it. NASH Invaders. How do you like the diesel audio? NASH Invaders. I'm killing it. It's getting harder. See how hard it gets now? Oh, we're fucking Nash up. Ah! All right, we're almost done. Oh, we're fucking his ass up. Ah! Fucking shit's getting hard, man. Oh shit, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. Fuck. Yeah. Nice. Okay. Did I do it? And don't make me feel good. Just be honest. Is it worthy? Is it a keeper? Is it a keeper? Nash Invaders. We had the Wolfpack music. We had the Diesel sound effect. I don't know. I'll take suggestions for the next one. See, the thing with doing Tony Khan, what do I use for music? What do we use? That's the thing. We got to come up with music. We got to come up with, maybe a sound effect. I don't know. So, all right, it's a keeper. Kevin Nash isn't going to, why would he sue me? For what? Because I used his head? Because I used his fucking head? Oh, let me close this. All right. Thank God we fixed that. All right, so we're going to start bringing this home. We are definitely going to start bringing this home. We'll wrap this up in about 10 minutes. So I do have a couple other quick news tidbits. We got a little bit of WWE news. I do want to get into a couple of additional shout outs. If you don't have any issue with it. Jim Kahn, my thoughts on AI. Will it take away jobs? I think it will take away some jobs, or it'll create others. It's just like when Google came around. Listen, I had a debate with somebody at Christmas time that, they were trying to make it seem like how evil AI is. And listen, AI is good for reference and good to assist, but it shouldn't be a replacement for anything. But I brought up to this person, when you hear, when club music came out with drum machines, when they were using drum machines to make beats. You look at a lot of club music that came out in the 80s and the 90s, even today, they use drum machines. All right. Okay, someone is not actually playing the drums, you're just pressing buttons. All right. You could literally make a professional song by just pressing buttons on a drum machine. Is that taking away jobs? If you enhance something, is that taking away jobs when you use, I brought up the example. I've been doing insurance since 1998. And back then I used the typewriter. I used the typewriter until the mid 2000s. And when you type up applications for car insurance, it takes a half hour, an hour to type up 6-8 pages of forms. Because it's not like you're just typing a letter. You literally have to fill in boxes. You have to, find. So now when a computer comes, and I could save my applications, and the only thing I got to change is the personal info and the vehicle info, and it takes me 5 minutes to fill out an application instead of an hour. All right, is that a bad thing? I don't have to pay a secretary to type that stuff up. Is the computer taking away? It just assists. It'll take away jobs if people allow it to. But to me, it's just like Google. Back in the day, is Google going to take away dictionaries? I just think AI is going to cure cancer. I swear to God, I've said that before. AI is going to find a cure for something, and it's going to fuck up the medical industry, because the medical industry is going to be like, fuck, we're making so much money chasing the cancer or chasing this illness. We don't want to cure the illness, because if we cure the illness, then there's no reason to chase it anymore. That's why I think AI, if done the right way, is going to figure out how to solve problems that some people make too much money off of not solving the problems. But I'm not a huge fan of AI, but I will definitely use it where I need to assist me in my work. It just assists me. Why should I spend 2 hours to do a Photoshop where I could spend an hour less and, add some things? And why wouldn't I do that? So that's how I look at it. DJ White, did I see the K100 report that AEW is going to the Roku Howdy channel? I don't have any issue if they go to Roku. They also their app is already on Roku. I think it's overseas only right now, but listen, the future of wrestling is streaming. Raw is already streaming. Saturday night's main event is already streaming. It's not on NBC anymore. Down the line, when SmackDown's TV deal's up, I think Netflix will snatch it up. So 5-10 years from now, everything is going to be streaming. That is the next technology. 30 years ago, we still could go out on the street or go to the beach with little portable TVs and watch regular television through portable TVs. Then digital came around and those portable TVs were worthless. Can't get channels anymore. So digital was the next step. Now you go to a streaming platform. To me, it's just technology changing. And down the line, streaming is the future. That's why you see a lot of networks closing down, a lot of networks merging and changing things around because they know what the future is. And it will cost jobs. There's a lot of like networks now that don't even use like weather people anymore. I watch a cable channel. Well, no, I watch a streaming channel on Roku. On the Roku channel, I watch like Forensic Files. On the Roku channel, it plays all day long. And during it here in New York, it'll give us weather reports. The current temperature is 69 degrees. Today it'll be, and you realize the beautiful sounding female that is talking to me through the TV is AI. It's not even a human. It's a computer. That's what they're doing. You look at McDonald's. A lot of McDonald's now, you walk into the place and you push a couple of buttons, you grab your ticket and you wait for your food. You don't have someone ringing you up anymore. Technology changes and it adapts with the times. Only fools want to stay in the past, or people that need the past in order to make money. That's why you saw so much resistance in the wrestling world about Nielsen. Nielsen is adapting. Nielsen is converting to streaming. It's not going to be an overnight success. They had to change things around. We were the first people online that told you that expect a ratings Viagra boost when Nielsen changes something over. And sure enough, you saw the boost that some wrestling had. So the future is streaming. So whether AEW ends up on Roku or Apple TV or Amazon or YouTube, that's the future. It's not a negative. It would have been a negative if AEW's big dependency was on ad revenue, advertisers. If you notice, you never hear anything about advertisers with AEW programming. It's because the TV deals are structured that the networks are the ones that are profiting off of it. And even Warner Brothers Discovery is preparing for a streaming future. 10, 20 years from now, I don't think regular cable TV will be what it is now. It's just the sign of the times. So that's how I look at it, but thank you for that. Joshua loves Lesnar, but wasn't too thrilled of him returning tonight. You know what's interesting? It kind of makes me feel like, are they really ready for Oba to take it to the next level? Because if you remember yesterday's sit down, when we were talking about Oba last night, I said, the big question is, are they ready to have Oba go to the level like when Goldberg started fighting Raven, Steven Regal, and others? I mean, obviously, Steven Regal, that match was a disaster, but there was a strategic moment in Goldberg's WCW career that he was forced to now have 5 matches, 5-minute matches, 6-minute matches, not 90-second matches anymore. Goldberg not only had to give offense, but he had to do defense. He had to sell a little bit. He didn't have to sell much, but they did this. Are they ready to do that with Oba Femi? That's why when we did predictions earlier, I think the Penta Ethan Page match is very intriguing. Whoever is the Oba Femi's first title, to me, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I'm convinced that Oba Femi's first championship reign on the main roster will be the Intercontinental Championship. The only question is, are they going to put him against Penta and have a 6-7 minute match? Because he did have 10-minute matches in NXT. He did have very competitive matches in NXT. Are they ready to do that? Or do they still want to do the 2-minute squashes or 3-minute squashes, or, like with the Ethan Page? That's going to be the next thing. So once this match with Brock is done, you obviously have to do something next with Oba. The question is it still 2-minute squashes like old Goldberg? Or is it 4, 5, 6-minute matches from time to time with someone like a Penta? Squash with Ethan Page, competitive match with Penta. That's what I think this is going. That's why I don't think Oba will be world champion this year. I'd be shocked if he becomes world champion. Because you get him so dominant, how's he going to lose it? You know, and you're not going to have a cattle prod stun him. So I don't have any issue with Lesnar returning, because Oba versus Brock, even though it lasted 5 or 6 minutes, and we wish it would have lasted 2-3 minutes more at WrestleMania, it delivered. So we know we're going to get a good match. Plus, we now have the added aspect that Brock is pretty much retired now. Oba has built even further, and it just adds more to this match. So I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. I think sometimes we get a little too serious with wrestling sometimes. That's why I saw people really overanalyzing Darby Allin's run as AEW champion on both sides. Some people thought that it's kind of like a all over the place run. And then you hear someone saying that people will remember this run generations from now. You know, I just think people just think a little bit too deep. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy the ride. Don't have to overanalyze it. And at the same time, you don't have to put it on like a Mount Rushmore. I think some people get way too emotional with runs. So I think the same thing here. You know, wrestling is entertainment. And sure, you wish people would adhere to stipulations, but so many people would retire and unretire. You would have people lose or leave town matches, and then they return a year or two later. You know, we've had that before. So if Brock comes around once in a blue moon as a surprise, and he still can go, why would you not want that? The guy could. That's why I was so confused at WrestleMania. It doesn't make sense. If he's going to retire, you do it in Saudi Arabia. If he still has it. And I think the only reason why he would leave WWE, besides money, obviously, is because Vince is not there. So I honestly think that, Brock is retired, but I think he will still work a little bit. I think he'll still work, maybe 3 matches a year, 2 to 4 matches a year, I think is probably pretty fitting. So, all right, AAA, next week, they have their Noche de los Grandes event. And right now the lineup is El Grande Americano versus El Grande Americano mask versus mask match. We have El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. versus El Hijo del Viqueño. El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. will be defending the AAA Latin American Championship. For the tag titles, Pagano and Psycho Clown will defend against the War Raiders. The Lucha de Relevos Austrianos. I'm not going to convert it to English because it involves Australian, but you have La Catalina, Lola Vice, and Bailey taking on Flema, La Hiedra, and Maravilla. American Great versus, well, no, that's translated to English. Sorry. We have, no, that's it. 4 matches. Oh, what? That's it? Yeah, that's only 4 matches right now. WWE announced so much for no house shows, right? WWE just announced a 10-event summer tour. And as wonderful as it's in the United States for the most part. Saturday, July 11th, they'll be in La Cruces, New Mexico at the Pan American Center. Sunday, July 12th, they'll be in Albuquerque at the Pit. That's an interesting name. They'll be in Allentown, Pennsylvania at the PPL Center on Thursday, July 16th. Interesting, they're doing it on Thursday. Saturday, July 25th, they'll be in Stockton, California at the Adventist Health Arena. Sunday, July 26th, they'll be in Bakersfield, California at the Dignity Health Arena. A lot of health arenas in California. Thursday, July 30th, they'll be in Springfield, Illinois at the Bank of Springfield Center. Thursday, August 6th, they'll be in Fairfax, Virginia at the Eagle Bank Arena. Thursday, August 13th, they'll be in Manchester, New Hampshire at the SNHU Arena. Saturday, August 29th, they'll be in Savannah, Georgia at the Market Arena. And Sunday, August 30th, they'll be in Charleston, South Carolina at the North Charleston Coliseum. So not a bad, not a bad tour. So that's going to be their summer schedule. So I think we are done. I think we covered it all. We got a lot of stuff to get into Wednesday. We obviously have AEW predictions. We'll get into any news coming out of NXT. We have some TNA stuff to get into Wednesday as well. We'll get into some other news that's going on. The weekend ratings, we obviously have to discuss. And if I find out anything else about Brock Lesnar, I will definitely let you all know about it. I don't expect to hear much because, again, that network in Brock Lesnar's camp and the executives is so tight. There's no one that's going to give us any info on that. But I do believe in closing that, again, I believe that Brock Lesnar is retired. And I also believe that he will, on occasion, have a match. And, it's just fascinating that they chose Italy because they didn't need to do it in Italy. So tickets are just about sold out. Those 60, 70 tickets will be gone by tomorrow. So it's pretty wild that it's happened in Italy, but, it's good for us. It's good for us as wrestling fans. So anyway, I'm going to jet out of here. I ended up going longer than I expected, but I want to thank you all for allowing me to have a little bit of an escape tonight as well. It's been a kind of crazy month, to see how many deaths that I've had to deal with, and, my mom currently in the hospital. So I just hope things get better. I hope to have much better news later this week, but I will be back Wednesday for Wednesday Night Dynamite. Get it on all the regular audio platforms. Thursday, I'll be on Patreon, patreon.com/Don Tony. We'll be in the Discord, chatting it up for a few hours. And then the weekend routine. The history show will be posted Saturday morning. And then we have the sit down Sunday night. And then next Monday, we're right back at it. But definitely in the comments section, post some legitimate examples you want for the video game. Who do we do next? But just keep in mind that we have to have music and some sound effects. And it won't be as easy as you think if we do someone like Tony Khan or Meltzer, because I know those will come up. I might have to get very, very creative and try to come up with something. Maybe we use goofy sound effects like farts or something stupid. But, give me some ideas. Who do you want to see next? We have Maven Invaders and we had NASH Invaders. And the cool thing about it is I can improve the graphics. I could turn this shit into high definition stuff. I'm keeping it old school because the original video game we made was back in 2002. Using Windows 98 was around at the time. Maybe Windows 2000, but I'm pretty sure I still had Windows 98 at the time. So I made that video game using Windows 98. It was not easy to get that working on Windows 10. So if we could keep it old school and retro. Oh, by the way, I'll say this in closing. I don't know if you guys noticed tonight. I think Roman Reigns wears an Aura ring. Everybody thinks it's his wedding band, but since I bought the Aura 4 and monitoring my health a little bit closer, I notice everybody who's wearing one. A lot of sports people wear Aura rings. So I think Roman Reigns is wearing an Aura ring. And Joshua, thank you very much as we close this out. He says, do we see Roman versus Seth at WrestleMania 43 without the title as a Night 2 main event? I could see it happening. I would prefer it to happen at SummerSlam, but they could very well keep. I don't know if Seth versus Roman for no title should be a WrestleMania main event match. I could see it as a semi-main. I personally think you have Roman versus Seth close out a night at SummerSlam. And if there's no title on the line, I don't know if I would have it close out night 2. I feel that with the exception of Royal Rumble, when Royal Rumble is 2 nights, that's fine. Because you have the women's Royal Rumble match close out night 1, the men's Royal Rumble match close out night 2. But when it comes to Seth versus Roman, if there's no title on the line, I would do it for SummerSlam. But if there is a title on the line, yeah, you could absolutely have it close out one of the 2 nights. And remember, too, WrestleMania next year is in Saudi Arabia. So it's going to be a much different atmosphere. The news coverage is going to be less. Ticket prices will not be a factor. Ticket sales will not be a factor. So whichever night you throw it on, it won't have the impact like it did with the Vegas shows. So you definitely have a little bit more wiggle room when it comes to Saudi Arabia, but we'll see. But my friends, much love. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care, everybody.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.